Hey community, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome. My name is Janelle and I discuss mental health and self-development. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my new videos. Have you ever noticed that you're always finding fault with your romantic partners? No matter what the situation is, you're never satisfied. Maybe in the beginning you felt this intense attraction, or perhaps it was more of a conquest for you. And perhaps you told yourself, I have to have this person. I need to get to know them. And then once you do, you quickly lose interest. The chase is no longer a rush. You feel like there's nothing there to be desired, and now you're bored. You tell your friends that the person was too needy, there's no chemistry, or they're not your type. And you're known to date the most attractive people, and your friend group, they just don't get it. They think you're just way too picky, but in actuality, you're only picky because you don't feel your needs will ever be met. And nobody knows how lonely and empty you truly feel. Sometimes it's hard to describe, but you feel like there's something missing. You look to romantic partners to fill this missing component, and then when they can't, they are out like yesterday's trash. I'm gonna break down childhood neglect, aka emotional deprivation, from the book Reinventing Your Life, the Breakthrough Program to End Negative Behavior and Feel Good Again. This is a really great book because it talks about the different life traps from childhood and how they impact us now as adults. Let's dive in. If you resonated with what I just mentioned in terms of finding fault in your partner and never being satisfied, what you're actually experiencing is called emotional deprivation, which stems from childhood. So let me break it down. Dr. Jeffrey Young and Dr. Janet Klausko, I think that's how you pronounce her name, they provide a great definition of what emotional deprivation is. They said that it is the belief that your need for love will never be met adequately by other people. You feel that no one truly cares for you or understands how you feel. You find yourself attracted to cold and ungiving people, or you are cold and ungiving yourself, leading you to form relationships that inevitably prove unsatisfying. You feel cheated, and you alternate between being angry about it and feeling hurt and alone. Ironically, your anger just drives people further away, ensuring your continued deprivation. How many of you can resonate with that statement? At the core of emotional deprivation was a neglected child. According to the book Reinventing Your Life, there are 3 kinds of emotional deprivation. The first one is deprivation of nurturance, which is the absence of attention, affection, warmth, and companionship. The second one is deprivation of empathy, which is the absence of understanding, listening, self-disclosure, or mutually sharing of information from others. And the third one is deprivation of protection, the absence of strength, direction, and guidance from others. The severity of the neglect determines the type of relationship you have in adulthood, which brings me to 3 examples of coping responses that a lot of people engage in. If you are someone who surrenders to your emotional deprivation, you date individuals who are emotionally depriving and you don't ask them to meet your needs. If you are avoidant, you will avoid intimate partner relationships altogether. And if you overcompensate, you act emotionally demanding with your partners and close friends. I'm going to provide you with an example of 2 people who have emotional deprivation. I'll start with their childhood and then I'll fast forward to how they are in relationships as adults. My first fictional character today is Anthony. All right. So Anthony was born a healthy baby boy. His parents were married, but his dad passed away when he was 6 years old. Anthony's mom was 18 years old when she gave birth to him, and his father was 26. Anthony doesn't recall much of his father, but he did mention to his therapist that he had a memory of his dad reading to him at night. That was the only time he felt safe. As for Anthony's mother, she was never there for him. She was always frustrated with him, as if his very existence was a nuisance. She never tended to his needs, and Anthony essentially raised himself. His mother would leave food on the table so he wouldn't starve. but that was about it. She was always watching television or she was out on a date. Anthony's mother didn't think he served a purpose. She looked at him as another mouth to feed. He later found out that his mother only went through with the pregnancy because his father always wanted children. She never wanted children herself, and she always felt resentment towards Anthony. His mother never attended his graduations or celebrated his birthdays. Anthony knew there was something missing, but he couldn't quite figure it out. So in Anthony's case, this is a severe form of neglect. Not all children of neglect will have the same experience. Let's fast forward to his adulthood. Anthony is now 34 years old and has become a serial dater. He initially feels excitement, but that quickly turns into boredom and dismissal. Anthony is hard to please, and no matter how much you shower him with love and gifts, it's never enough. For example, Anthony's last girlfriend got them tickets to Hawaii for his birthday. He threw a fit because the seats weren't first class and the hotel was only a 4.5 star instead of a 5-star rating. Anthony refused to go unless his girlfriend made the necessary changes. Needless to say, she got a refund and broke up with him. He vented to his therapist. Anthony spoke about always being let down and experiencing constant disappointment by others. He expressed not being able to count on others, and as a result, this exasperated his loneliness and emptiness. Not to mention, he feels very uncomfortable with vulnerability. He will always find fault with the women he dates, especially if they have a desire to get close to him. Although the therapist points out to him that he has come across many women who have been more than enough, Anthony doesn't see it. As a coping response, Anthony gets angry and demanding when he feels like his needs are not being met. He has trouble tapping into his pain. Anger is no problem for him as it protects him from vulnerability and sadness he feels from emotional deprivation, aka the neglected child. So Anthony's mom was a severe case because she denied him nurturance, empathy, and protection. I also want to add that emotional deprivation can look very different depending on the type of deprivation you experienced. Because Anthony's neglect was so severe, his coping style was overcompensation by becoming demanding and having a sense of entitlement. This is an easy recipe for narcissistic behavior. All right, let's move on to the other example, Jane. Jane grew up with a narcissistic mother who saw Jane as an extension of herself. Jane was a very beautiful child, and her mom put her in pageants and spoiled her with spa days and clothes. She taught Jane how to be poised and look pretty for others. Her mom would dote on her and was very protective to the outside world. However, behind closed doors, her mom neglected her. Jane's mom wouldn't be bothered with her when company wasn't around. Jane knew to leave her mom alone. Jane wanted to quit pageantry, but her mom got furious. It's not about you, Jane. Think about all the people you're disappointing, the amount of money I spent. You have to learn how to show up and smile. You don't want to be a quitter, do you? Jane learned to ignore her needs if it meant making her mom and others happy. Jane learned that the road to success was sacrifice, even if it meant sacrificing her own happiness. Fast forward, Jane is now a 32-year-old woman and married to a successful businessman. He is cold, lacks warmth, and lacks understanding. Even when Jane is tired, he expects her to be pretty and show up to all of his work events. When they are in public, he is the most attentive husband and displays Jane like a trophy. When they are behind closed doors, he ignores her and rarely makes conversation. Only when he needs something, Jane becomes useful again. She married her mother, a cold narcissist who only cares about themselves and the image they portray to others. Overall, the end result is still the same. For both Anthony and Jane, they ended up in relationships that were emotionally depriving and reminiscent of their childhood neglect. According to Dr. Jeffrey and Dr. Janet, there are warning signs and self-sabotaging behaviors to look out for when you are in a relationship. Number 1, the person doesn't listen to you. Number 2, they do all the talking. Number 3, they are not comfortable with touching you or kissing you. Number 4, they are only sporadically available. Number 5, they are cold and aloof. Number 6, you are much more interested in getting to know them and being close with them than they are of you. Number 7, the person doesn't support your vulnerability. Number 8, the less available they are, the more obsessed you become. And number 9, they don't understand your feelings. And number 10, you are giving more than you are receiving in return. Next, we have some sabotaging behaviors to look out for when in a relationship. Number 1, you don't communicate your needs, and then you feel disappointed when your needs are not met. Number 2, you don't communicate how you feel, and then you feel disappointed when you are not understood. Number 3, you don't allow yourself to be vulnerable so your partner can protect and guide you. Number 4, you feel deprived, but you remain silent. Eventually, you start to harbor resentment towards your partner. Number 5, you become angry and demanding. Number 6, you constantly accuse your partner of not caring enough about you. Number 7, you become distant and unreachable. It can be hard to detect emotional deprivation. You feel like there's something missing, but how do you know something is missing if you've never felt it? You don't know it's even existed. All you know is that you feel empty and you can't explain it. When I ask people about their childhood, they're always, oh, it was normal. Mom and dad were busy. Nothing really stood out much. This is why I usually work backwards. So ask yourself some of the following questions. Did I feel comfortable and safe speaking to my mom or dad about my emotions? Did I feel heard? Did I feel seen? Was I provided with warmth and nurturance and not just the superficial stuff? Did my mom feel comfortable with physical affection? Was I able to express myself? Did I feel loved? If so, how? Ask these questions about your immediate caretaker. The book Reinventing Your Life also has a questionnaire you can take to find out where you fall on the emotional deprivation scale. Okay, so now that we know what emotional deprivation means and what it looks like, how do we fix it? The answer that many people don't like is time. It takes time and a lot of intentional behavior, but the book outlines 6 steps to change emotional deprivation, and I'm gonna list them now. So step number 1, understand your childhood deprivation and allow yourself to feel the neglected child within. So that means no avoidance, no minimization, sit with your emotions without judgment, and a need to protect your caregiver. Number 2, monitor your current feelings of deprivation in your current relationship. So get in touch with your needs for nurturance, empathy, and guidance, meaning be more present with what is currently happening in your relationship. Ask yourself, how do I feel and what do I need? Number 3, review past relationships. Clarify the patterns that keep you repeating. List the pitfalls and avoid them from now on. Number 4, avoid cold partners who generate high chemistry. Before entering into a relationship, you want to ensure that your emotional deprivation isn't being activated. So ask yourself if the attraction or connection is purely physical or if it's just very romanticized. You want to avoid cold and unforgiving people who activate your deprivation because you're just going to confuse it with joy or happiness. It's like winning the lottery. You have a few wins and many losses, but you keep playing because you're chasing that dopamine rush. You gotta let it go. Number 5, when you find a partner who is emotionally generous, give the relationship a chance to work. Ask for what you need and share your vulnerability with your partner. This one is very important because a lot of people are so used to feeling this rush of excitement when they initially meet their person. However, they don't realize that their life trap is being triggered. So now that you have someone who is actually healthy, you may actually find them boring and unsatisfying. Don't run away. Remind yourself that you aren't used to having your emotional needs met. Give it time and you'll feel the difference. You're not being asked to settle, but you're not gonna date someone who exudes a 10 out of 10 chemistry. That's when you know something is off and you need to run. Number 6, stop blaming your partner and demanding that your needs be met. Communicate your needs in a very calm manner. Anything else will drive your partner away. Be willing to be open and express your vulnerability. When you grow up in a complex PTSD-inducing home, it can greatly alter your life and your future relationships, as you can see by this video. This is a journey and not a sprint. So the healing process takes time, patience, self-compassion, facing the truth, and commitment. Dr. Jeffrey and Dr. Janet mentioned great steps to breaking the cycle of emotional deprivation. However, as I've previously mentioned in my other videos on complex PTSD, prolonged trauma shatters a child's sense of self and identity. So there will be developmental arrests that occurred and that have to be addressed. You are essentially learning how to crawl, how to walk, how to run, and then how to sprint. AKA, you're learning self-esteem, self-compassion, self-love, self-protection, self-acceptance, and the list can go on and on. I know everyone's experience is different, and children can be very resilient, but be careful not to measure yourself against someone else's progress. If you made it to the end of this video, thanks for watching. I encourage everyone watching to reflect on their own behaviors in relationships and share their thoughts and experiences in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my new videos. Bye for now.